So recently, one of you guys reached out to me with a couple of questions about my haircut. First, the blown out cut, and then the curly cut that may or may not have followed after that. And those questions really brought to my attention that it's been a long while. I shouldn't have left you. I didn't give you guys an update on the whole like cutting situation and my experience. So that is what we're going to get into today. But first, hello everyone, Kayla here, and this is What the Kink, a natural hair channel. So this question that I was asked, there was a couple of questions asked about how my hair was cut. This person is probably interested in getting their hair cut blown out as well. There was a little bit of concern for translation and things like that, and then just wanting to know a general update of what it was like to get a curly cut after having gotten a blown out cut. So let me tell you, here it is. First of all, the blown out cut. I realize now, fully understand now the difference between what Black Girl Curls and them, despite them not being our favorite people right now, or really having been favorite people ever because they weren't super nice when they came out. They did a lot of talking about 2D versus 3D cutting. And like, I would hear that, but it was like, okay, I'm not a hairstylist. You're not talking to me. But I now fully understand 2D cutting versus 3D cutting. So I think the best way to explain it is like 2D in terms of hair that's intended to be worn straight, and 3D in terms of hair that is intended to be worn voluminously out and away and that kind of stuff, right? So my blown out hair, I can say, was definitely cut more in a 2D way. Cut in a way for someone who is wearing their hair straight. We know that I don't wear my hair straight, right? So like she did the hair, like she cut it, looking at the individual sections, pulling out pieces of hair, so on and so forth. But to end the cut, she combed all the hair down and then she evened it up from left to right, like this part here. And so that is something that more so it's basically aimed at a person who is going to wear their hair down and straight in that way, right? So the translation of that when I went back curly is that I ended up with long layers. That's what happened. And if you do not know, the way that my hair has been, like the shape that I've had for the last, year, 2 years or whatever, has been more like heavy on the ends, almost with the same type of cutting as a bob, except longer hair. So now my hair is not all heavy on the ends. It has these long layers because of the way that the blown out cut translated to the curly cut. So let me show you. I mean, honestly, I don't think that it shows very well on the camera so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But like my hair kind of has like a slight little, like comes in the back. And then on here, you can see where it's a little shorter out here and then goes in. So there's a difference in the layer. So if you're looking up here versus down here, you see the difference. So that's what's going on with it. So it didn't translate back like perfectly or anything like that. Now, do not automatically start thinking, man, I can't get a blown out cut because it won't translate, because there is a way that a blown out cut will translate. We'll get into that, right? So I went to my curly cut appointment. This person was asking, did I get a curly cut? Yes, I did. Right on schedule, just like normal. I did go and get a curly cut. And when I went, I discussed with Elaine. So Elaine, that y'all know, like she's kind of known or whatever in the natural world or whatever. It's that same one and same Elaine of Yes Her Studio. That's who cuts my hair. That's who's been cutting my hair the last, I don't know, year, 2 years, something like that. So so I went to Elaine and I told her that I got the blown out cut. And before she was even getting ready to cut my hair, I told her, and it is in long layers. It's back to the long layered look. I had previously gone to another hairstylist, which is Jarelli of Faith in Curls. And Jarelli maintained my hair in like long layers for like 4 years or so. Before I switched to Elaine and got my shape changed because I asked for it. And we did lose a little bit of length there. So I said, hey, I'm back to the long layers. Let's do the trim, like health-based or whatever, but let's not try to remove the long layers and go back to the heavy at the ends that I had before, because if we did that, I would lose length, like a decent amount of length, right? And that's not what was on my menu or my goal for that particular day. Okay. So I now still have the long layers, even after I went and got the curly cut, because I was like, I had the long layers look before. It's fine. I live. It's really not that drastic. I don't think most people would even notice. And she still did the evening up stuff. So Elaine does a lot of stuff where you like turn your head this way and she cuts, turn your head this way. She cuts head to the front. So it's like, it's not like my hair was uneven when I walked up out of there, but there were definitely layers that were in there. And that was due to the 2D nature of my haircut that I received. So that brings me forward to 3D cutting. Right? 3D cutting. So while I'm in the chair and I'm talking to Elaine, I say to her, I now understand the Diva Curl way of cutting. I now get it. So if you're not familiar with how the Diva Curl people mainly cut your hair, they usually ask for their clients to come in with very little or no product. And then they do, during the cut, the hair ends up like almost like combed out looking, and essentially what they're doing is they're doing the blown out cut without blowing out the hair. And they cut in a very 3D way, meaning the hair is not only evened up this way, left to right or whatever, but they also are evening it out this way. So you'll see they'll cut and there'll be like a beveled, texture here or whatever, because they're cutting the hair so that it can later be worn in a 3D fashion once they, wash the hair and define the curls back and all that. And so with that type of cutting, it tends to translate back, right? So what I'm noticing in the work of Elaine and the other curl artists, especially ones who have been trained in like diva curl style cutting, what they're doing is they're blowing the hair out, because I still think that it's not ideal for someone with type 4 hair to come up in there with the hair with little to no product and they comb it out or whatever. I feel like that still would be a little weird of a cutting method for type 4 hair, especially like really thick type 4 hair like mine. You would get something that's probably all over the place, right? So people with the type 4 hair are blowing it out, right? But they're still employing cutting techniques that to me, to my untrained eye, look very similar to the style of cutting that they're doing with Diva Curl. And like Elaine was like, yeah, like that basically is the, I guess it's the tool set that she is pulling from. And so when you see her Instagram work with the blown out cut, and then the like the person's blown out hair before and then they're blown out cut, and then the translated look into like a twist out or a wash and go or whatever, she is using cutting techniques that are similar to how they're cutting out that combed out Diva Curl hair. So and I think other hairstylists are doing the same, because I'm looking at what these cuts look like and they do make sense from a 3D point of view. So that's why you're getting hair that translates better. So I think that if you want to get the blown out cut, just get it from somebody who specializes in hair that is worn in a 3D state. So that's their clients maybe wear their hair twisted, or they do like natural styles. Like they're not like a press and curl stylist, is what I'm saying. Someone who doesn't mainly do that. And you can look at people's work. People show their haircuts and stuff. You can look and see, is it given 3D? You know what I mean? So like, should I choose to have my hair blown out now? While I am not mad about the haircut that I got, it was lower cost, it was local, it was whatever. I'm not mad about it at all. And I've had this shape before, so I don't care about it like that. But if I could start over again, I probably would have, with this understanding, probably would have booked with, maybe just stuck with booking with Elaine and got the blowout cut from her, so that it would have been cut in the way that would have still kind of been in the same shape that I had before, so it would translate back. But I didn't understand the difference between that. I didn't think that it mattered until after I got the haircut, and I was like, okay, that was 2D. What I'm seeing on Instagram and all this is 3D style of cutting. And I want to say it's not even just the curl specialist, guys, because when you look at haircuts, like when you look at Narada's haircuts, right? And he doesn't do a lot of wash and go curly, like he don't do curly cutting at all. When you look at his cuts, they also look 3D. His cuts look 3D. They don't have that flat look to me. So I think that that's the main lesson that I learned from going back and forth. Like, yeah, my hair was totally fine going back to curly and getting the cut and stuff like that. It was fine. but it just did not translate as well. And if that's a major concern of yours, of course, there are options. There are other things you could do. It's just something to consider, some food for thought. My videos are actually really, really out of sync because I've like been inspired and been filming all types of stuff, right? So like this video is being filmed way before you're gonna see it. And in fact, I'm filming it so late past my curly haircut that it's almost time to book another one, right? And by the time you see this, I probably will already have gotten the next haircut. But I do want to tell you guys that the next haircut is going to be, oh, I got something planned, girl. Is it going to be a major visual change to my hair? Okay. So much so that I'm actually planning to DM Elaine to ask her about it before I book. I ain't trying to get the regular degular that I normally get. So I guess you guys can enjoy the videos while you wait for the videos to catch up to the real timeline going on behind the scenes over here, okay? While you wait, check out my blown out cut video if you have no idea what I'm talking about from January at all. Watch some other of my videos. I'm sure you haven't seen everything. Subscribe, and I will talk to you in the next one.